The world had fallen silent. Around 1200 BC, one of history's greatest catastrophes swept across the eastern Mediterranean. Mighty kingdoms collapsed almost overnight. Great cities burned. Palaces that had stood for centuries were abandoned. Trade routes disappeared beneath the waves of chaos, and writing itself vanished from many lands. The Mycenaean kingdoms of Greece crumbled. The Hittite Empire disappeared forever. Cities from Anatolia to the Levante were reduced to smoking ruins. Even prosperous Cyprus, the island whose copper had fueled the Bronze Age, struggled to survive as the old international world came to an end. For generations, history entered a shadow. This was the beginning of what historians call the Greek Dark Age. Yet from darkness, new civilizations emerged. By around 800 BC, villages had become towns once again. Population began to grow. Iron replaced bronze as the metal of everyday life, making weapons and tools cheaper than ever before. Greek merchants returned to the seas, carrying ideas as well as goods. Most importantly, writing returned. The Greeks adopted the Phoenician alphabet, transforming it into the first alphabet to include vowels. Knowledge could once again be recorded. Stories that had lived only in memory were finally written down. Among them were the epic poems of Homer. The Iliad and the Odyssey preserved the fading memories of the heroic Bronze Age, inspiring generations to come. Across Greece, independent city-states, known as polis, began to flourish. Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes, each developed its own identity, government, and ambitions. This was the Archaic Age, a period of innovation, exploration, and fierce competition. Greek sailors established colonies across the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. New trade routes enriched their cities. Artists perfected sculpture. Architects raised magnificent stone temples. Philosophers began asking questions that would shape Western thought for millennia. Then the world changed again. In the 5th century BC, the mighty Persian Empire expanded toward Europe. The tiny Greek city-states stood in its path. Against overwhelming odds, they fought legendary battles at Marathon, Thermopylae, Salamis, and Plataea. Their victories preserved Greek independence and ushered in the Classical Age. Athens entered its Golden Age. The Acropolis rose above the city. The Parthenon became a symbol of beauty and human achievement. Socrates questioned accepted wisdom. Plato imagined the ideal society. Aristotle studied nature, politics, and philosophy with unmatched curiosity. Greek drama, mathematics, science, and democracy flourished, leaving a legacy that still shapes our world today. But no civilization stands still. As the Greek city-states exhausted themselves through decades of warfare, a new power emerged in the north. Macedon, its king Philip II, united the divided Greeks under his leadership. His son would change history forever. His name was Alexander the Great. In just over a decade, Alexander conquered an empire stretching from Greece and Egypt to Persia and the borders of India. Never before had one man united so much of the known world. Wherever his armies marched, Greek language, culture, science, and architecture followed. This was the birth of the Hellenistic Age. When Alexander died suddenly in 323 BC, his vast empire did not survive intact. Instead, it was divided among his greatest generals. One of the most successful was Ptolemy, later known as Ptolemy I Soter. He claimed Egypt and founded the Ptolemaic kingdom, ruling from the magnificent city of Alexandria. Under the Ptolemies, Alexandria became one of the greatest centers of learning in human history. Its famous library sought to gather all the knowledge of the ancient world. Scientists measured the earth, astronomers mapped the heavens, mathematicians transformed geometry, scholars preserved countless works that might otherwise have vanished forever. Even Cyprus became an important possession of the Ptolemaic kings, serving as a strategic naval base and a vital source of wealth in the eastern Mediterranean. But history continued its relentless march. In 30 BC, after the death of Queen Cleopatra VII, Egypt became part of the expanding Roman Empire. The Mediterranean was united once more, this time under Roman rule. It was during this era that a new faith quietly emerged in the Roman province of Judea. The teachings of Jesus of Nazareth spread first among small communities, then across the empire itself. Despite persecution, Christianity continued to grow. In the 4th century AD, Emperor Constantine embraced the Christian faith, transforming the religious future of Europe and the Near East. Ancient temples slowly gave way to churches. The old pagan world faded. A new Christian civilization was born. As the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century, its eastern half endured.